My daughter's missing. I guess she never made it to school this morning. How old's your daughter? She's 10.
This is not like her. I pounded into her head since she was little not to get into cars with strangers.
I need you to come to my house. My son wants to turn himself in.
The second I pulled her into my car, I knew she was dead. Random place, random time, random everything. I am a monster for what I've done.
A quiet Colorado community is stunned when a 10-year-old girl vanishes on her way to school. Chilling discoveries over the coming weeks turn a desperate search into a grim homicide investigation until the shocking moment a teenager confesses to police. The only problem is the critical evidence that says he had nothing to do with it.
I have proof that I did it. There is no other question. You just have to send a squad car, and I will answer all the questions that you want to ask.
The following report is based on official police records, and most of the footage has never been seen before until now. On the afternoon of October 5th, 2012, a desperate mother in Westminster, Colorado calls 911 to make a heartbreaking report.
My daughter's missing. I guess she never made it to school this morning.
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
Okay. Could she be with a father or anything like that?
No, her father's in Missouri.
When did you last see her?
This morning when she left at 8:30.
Did she walk?
Yeah. And I checked her friend's house that she walked in. They're not answering the doors.
Okay. She doesn't have a phone or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Does she have a bike?
Yeah, but she doesn't ride it to school.
Well, have you worked?
Have I worked?
Looked for her. Have you looked for her anywhere?
I went up to the school, and my sister's walking up to the school the same way that she
Bro, not everybody lives in a fucking shithole, dumbass, redneck, piece of dog shit town. Walking to school is fine. Brother, where I live, everybody walked to school. Brother, I was fucking 8, whatever, I went to school. What about it? 10-year-old when I went to school? Bro, I was you're younger than that. Bro, 7? Yeah, I walked to school. Yeah, and we had to walk like 4 long streets. And it was fine. But it, like, the fact that you think like people can't just be in a nice neighborhood. This is like a middle lower class spot. Look, there's parks outside that people mow their lawns and shit like that. Clearly they follow the fucking code and shit. Like, this looks like a perfectly fine to walk neighborhood.
I worked up to the school. The same looked around at the park that's down the street. There's no kids there.
Okay. What's your daughter's name?
Jessica Bridgeway.
News of 10-year-old Jessica's disappearance will soon grip the entire community. But in the early first hours, it's the family that police need to speak to, including the other 2 residents of the house, Jessica's aunt and her grandmother.
How are you guys holding up?
I don't know. I don't think her mother's doing well. It's kind of scary.
Wait, what?
No, I don't think her mother's doing well. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
She never does things like this. She's a good kid.
Yeah.
Jessica's not really one to want to even run away. I mean, she's pretty a homebody.
She's pretty, okay, she's, I know kind of a homebody, but is she like pretty adventurous too?
I don't think so.
According to Jessica's mother, she packed her off for school that morning at 8:30, bundled up for the snow, and went to bed after working the night shift. It wasn't until approximately 4 o'clock this afternoon that she woke up to see that Witt Elementary had called with an unsettling message. Jessica never showed up to school that day.
And then I got in the car and I drove over to her house and knocked on the door and banged on the door and nobody answered. So I drove up to the school and went inside and saw that the office was closed. So I turned around and left and drove back to her house and pounded on the door again.
Her father's house?
Nobody answered. And so I drove home and then I called 911.
Does she know like the house phone number?
She knows our house phone number by heart.
Does she?
She's not real clear on her address sometimes. So she transposes the numbers.
No. It's to her something. It's not somebody's name. Clearly her father's like that. There might be some, because it's a child, there might be something related to not being able to say some things about the case or whatever. To her friend's house? Yeah, but even then, why would it be censored? It's just because it's a child, and things related to the case might be just censored flat out, just always.
Does she know like your guys' cell phones at all, or just the house phone?
Just the house phone.
Because they're both minors.
I don't know. I have no
Jessica could be.
I don't know. This is not like her. I pounded into her head since she was little not to get into cars with strangers, so I don't think she would do that. I mean, in my mind, I think maybe she started off towards school, she missed, so she went heading on to the school too. She got to school late, maybe the door was locked, so she decided to go back home, but I don't know how she would go back home, and obviously she didn't.
The Ridgway family insists that it would be wildly out of character for Jessica to simply take off, and the lack of answers invites darker possibilities.
I've just been so afraid this is going to happen sometime, and now it did.
So why were you afraid this was going to happen?
I just always worried that somebody would take one of my children or my grandchildren. I mean, I worried about the girls when they were little too. And then walk to school. I just worried.
So that's what you think has happened here?
I don't know. I mean, that's the worst case scenario for me. I'm hoping that she's lost or in a culvert or someplace and can't get out and she's hurt and cold. My mother's convinced she's under some bush somewhere. I'm stymied. I mean, I'm hoping nobody abducted her. I mean, that fear's there that somebody abducted her because she just disappeared and she never does this.
God forbid someone grabbed her or something, what do you think her reaction would be?
I think her reaction, if it's somebody she didn't know and they just grabbed her, she would start screaming.
Would she?
Okay, good.
In their determination to bring up anything that might be relevant, the family mentions some recent troubling incidents in the area.
One day she said there were some people standing at the park that were just like standing there by the tree, and it made her nervous, so she came home. It was like 3 weeks ago. She said they were just standing there like this by the tree.
Oh,
At the
hell
beginning of
no.
the school year, or maybe it was the end of last year, they had that suspicious person up at the Kettner Lake, and we had talked about making sure never to talk to anybody you don't know, and kind of usually reinforce it about every couple weeks, every month.
What do you remember about that suspicious person?
I don't remember. It was, they sent home like a letter saying there was...
The school did?
Yeah.
In May, a woman reported being attacked by a man wielding a chemical-scented rag while jogging at the nearby lake. Though she fought off successfully, he fled the scene and the police have yet to make an arrest.
Hey, so these are some pictures of a girl at 120th and Washington in a Circle K gas station.
Okay.
It looks similar to Jessica. I can't really tell, unfortunately. The picture isn't real clear. Do you mind just looking at these and tell me what you think here? I know those are bad pictures, but unfortunately that's kind of the best we can do.
It looks similar. And that's kind of how she keeps her hair.
What's kind of your initial reaction when you saw those?
I would say it's closer to being her than not being her.
But you didn't think that was your daughter when you first saw them?
Not right off the bat.
Unfortunately, the lack of solid information leaves Jessica's family reeling.
Oh, please God, please God, please God, please God.
I don't think anything was sus, but I don't know. I just started watching, so it's kind of hard to tell.
The search for Jessica Ridgway becomes the top priority of the Westminster Police Department, but the little girl is nowhere to be found. 2 days after her disappearance, however, a man in neighboring Superior, Colorado finds a backpack on the street outside his house that matches the description her mother gave police.
It's gray with pink flowers on it.
Inside the backpack are Jessica's distinct purple glasses, school books, clothes that smell of urine, and a water bottle that says Jessica Ridgway on the side. The finding is disturbing, but it's not until October 10th, 3 days later, that several sanitation workers happen upon a far more horrifying discovery while picking up trash on the side of the road, miles away from where Jessica was last seen.
And I just seen that black bag. I said, well, that must have, fell out of somebody's pickup or blew out of somebody's pickup or something. Our job's to pick up the trash. Well, I walked over and picked it up. Herman was maybe 30 feet from me, west of me. And I said, what the hell?
That's chat as fuck, though.
30, 40 pounds, but it's only that deep, and it's a bag that this tall. So what could be so heavy and so small?
He was like, man, I went to pick this bag up. And he was like, it didn't feel right. So we, started looking at it, and my friend Bobby, he gets like the broom handle, and he starts, poking at it. He didn't touch it, but he starts poking at it. He's like, man, I think that's something.
Did it look like that bag had been out there for quite a while, or?
No, because me and Herman both said when a bag's been out there for even a couple of days, it's got dust on it, it's got dirt, it's got the dew in the morning. Them look brand new out the box in the ditch.
It was gooey on the bottom of the bag, like liquid was in there. But the sound of it, the top of the bag sounded hollow.
I opened it, and I thought, there's another identical bag, only it's rolled up tight in the bottom. And it's the same bag, but rolled up. And I said, this ain't right. Something just ain't right. This isn't trash. And he asked Herman, got a knife? I said, I don't have a knife. And Herman had a box cutter knife, with the one with the razor blade. Mm-hmm. And he took it, slid it open, and that's when we just seen it.
And then that's when we see, like, the torso. And then I seen, like, if the arm was missing, the bone that was sticking out. And then it was also split right down the middle, but all the insides were missing. So my friend Bobby was like, man, I think I'm going to call the police.
2 days later, the Westminster Police Department confirms that the remains indeed belong to Jessica Ridgway, turning the search for the missing girl into a homicide investigation. The news shocks the community, even as the discovery leaves a lasting scar on the men who found it.
I don't want to see another black trash bag. Dude, I'm not even going to go down this street, ever. But just seeing there no head, no arms, and no legs. It had to be hard. It had to be hard for the person that even did it.
The police find something else in the bag, a cross with strange markings carved into the side of the wood. And with samples they've obtained from Jessica's remains and backpack, they develop a DNA profile of an unknown suspect.
Wait. Go back. What? Where did they get that?
And that even did it.
The police find something else in the bag, a cross with strange markings carved into the side of the wood. And with samples they've obtained from Jessica's remains and backpack, they develop a DNA profile of an unknown suspect. But before they can identify a match, an unexpected phone call to the FBI sends the investigation in a new direction.
Why did you initially contact the FBI?
Well, because I really felt like I knew who had done it.
Who done what?
Who had abducted Jessica Ridgway.
Okay, and why did you feel that?
I don't know. I mean, I know it sounds weird, but I think some of it was really intuition. Mm-hmm. I'm a mom, first of all. I'm kind of paranoid type of person, I guess I would say. Well, not really paranoid, I guess. I'm just aware of my surroundings. Mm-hmm. And I believe that you can tell somebody by their eyes,
The woman says she's grown suspicious about the teenage son of her neighbor, Mindy.
And Mindy had texted me in July. She
You know what?
Austin graduated.
I was going to be a hater, but you know what? Bezed. Chat, people say there was no signs. Some people on the sidelines might actually see the signs straight up. I mean, that's Chad.
Graduated today. I said earlier or something. And she said, yeah. She says he dropped out of high school, took his GED, and he's going to school in the fall to become a mortician. And I thought, what kind of kid drops out of high school to go to be a mortician? And the cross thing was a big part because that's something that he wore a lot of that kind of jewelry, like the hemp necklaces and rope necklaces and stuff with the crosses on them. Mindy had posted on her thing this picture of this project that he had done. And she said, I guess it was something that was at the Museum of Nature and Science or something like that. And she says, I've got it on my phone. What's the fastest, least messy way to dispose of a body? And she says, Austin knows.
The FBI is already canvassing the neighborhood, and when they receive the woman's tip, they quickly interview Austin and collect his DNA sample.
And then she texts me right after and said, Austin just gave his DNA to the FBI. This is getting crazy. And they told me, play stupid.
Well, that's at 19.
Uh-huh. And I said, what? And she says, at least they can rule him out now. Should be the end of it for us.
Unfortunately for the investigation, this is exactly what happens. Austin Sigg's DNA is sent to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and like the hundreds of other samples that have been collected, it's not a match for the evidence. It's another dead end, and the hope of catching Jessica's killer grows dimmer than ever. That is, until the evening of October 23rd.
Wait. So she had it wrong?
After the little girl's disappearance, when a 911 call changes everything.
Hi, I need you to come
Chat.
to my house. My son.
Here comes a super chat coming in with the super taken. You know what, chat? What if this guy was off the rockers, insane, crazy, right? And she actually prevented somebody else. Because this guy was going to do whatever, he knew people were onto him, and he decided not to go into the life of killing and whatnot.
Wants to turn himself in for the Jessica Ridgway murder.
And what's going on there, ma'am?
Not hear me. He just confessed to killing her.
I know. I want you to tell me what's going on. Can you tell me exactly what he said?
But he did it, and he gave me details, and her remains are in my house.
Did you see them?
No.
Is he there with you?
Yes.
Is he cooperative?
Yes.
How old is your son?
17.
What is your son's name?
Austin Sigg.
In a bizarre twist, the very individual that investigators just cleared is now apparently confessing to the murder, and the 911 operator strives to get more information.
Do you think that Austin would talk to me?
Will you talk to her? Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Hello.
Is this
They did a shit job at the DNA stuff, man. Dog shit. I am saying it. They just didn't do good. It was probably shitty police work.
Austin?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Austin. This is Molly at the Westminster Police Department.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on right now, or how you're feeling, or how did this come about?
I don't exactly get why you're asking these questions. I murdered Jessica Ridgway.
Okay.
I have proof that I did it. There is no other question. You just have to send a squad car, something down here, and I will answer all the questions that you want to ask, or anyone wants to ask of me as soon as you gotta get down here.
Okay.
The teenager will more than live up to this promise as the evening unfolds, but for now, the operator has to determine what kind of situation the police will be walking into.
Yeah, exactly. I know what the
Do
mom's
you
done
have
anyway.
any weapons in your house?
I do, but I plan to use absolutely none of them. I will be sitting in my front room when the police officer arrives. Or I'll be right next to my mother. I have knives in my room, and we own a few guns, but I'm giving myself up.
Yo, 17-year-old? Is the mother like a little bit of a... Is she slow? Like a... But that's like some weird fucking revolver gun or some shit. Like, what's all of this?
And we own a few guns, but I'm giving myself up completely. There will be no resistance whatsoever.
All right, Austin. Well, like I said,
the police.
just like I said, I am sending you a police officer, okay? But you have to understand that you know, we take this stuff very seriously, and like I said, you did the right thing by calling.
I would have to hope that you would take this serious because this is important.
I absolutely am taking this seriously.
Can you please hurry up? I need to call his dad.
Ma'am, I understand you want to call your husband, and I'm sorry, but I would like to keep you guys on the phone just until the officers get a little bit closer.
Well, how far are they?
They're going to be there in just a few minutes. Can I get
we can stay on the line, but do you have to keep asking questions?
Okay, no, I don't. Mom, can I just get your name?
My name is Mindy.
Also, I gotta keep it a bug also. You know, why is everybody trusting the word of some fucking killer? Why is this lady still in the house with her killer son? She doesn't know what he's up to. Clearly she doesn't know his intentions at all. If he killed somebody, he's still living in her house and whatever. Bro, get out of there.
Austin told me he's taking like classes at community college.
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of classes is he taking?
To be a mortician.
He wants to be a mortician? Okay.
The operator tries to keep Austin's mom, Mindy, calm as police make their way to the address.
Mindy, take a couple deep breaths for me, okay? Yeah. Is Austin still there with you?
Yeah, I'm hugging him.
Okay, you guys are hugging? Okay, you definitely did the right thing. You tell me when the officers get there. They're coming to your front door.
I know.
Are you with the officers or what?
No, they're not here.
Okay. Is Austin still calm? How is his demeanor right
You need
now?
to hurry up.
I'm trying to get them to hurry, okay? Like I said, we're getting officers there as quickly as we can. Is Austin okay with you right now?
Yeah, he's just getting really anxious, and so am I.
Okay.
With me again. Oh.
Gail, can you hear me?
They're here. They're coming up.
Police arrive at the SIG residence and immediately take the 17-year-old into custody.
Hey, Austin. I'm Officer Stetson. What's up? Anybody else in the house? Hey, Austin. My name is AC, okay? Right now, I'm just going to put you in cuffs, okay? Do you have any weapons on you? Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure. No count is a minor.
Do you think that
I think.
This will anyway bring any comfort to the Fridge wife?
Oh no! Actually, no. Actually, never mind. But maybe. But they.
Whatsoever by seeing me brought to justice at all.
Well, I don't know the family.
It's an older video.
But I would say in my experience, people like some closure.
Well, this is all I can give, so I hope it'll do.
If Austin is to be believed, the Westminster police finally have their suspect. The only issue is whether or not they should believe him at all.
So in your experience, how long does it usually take to get the DNA test back?
I would expect somewhere between 9 and 36 hours, somewhere.
Wow. They came Friday night, the FBI, and took swab.
Okay.
DNA swab.
Well, keep in mind, they're not open on the weekends.
Gotta love it, right?
Or the government.
That just seems wrong, because, I mean, when you're hunting down someone like me, you would want those results back as quickly as possible and then close on the weekend. It's a relatively automated process.
At the police station, detectives first speak to Austin's mother, Mindy, who seems scarcely able to believe the nightmare unfolding before her eyes.
I was still in a towel.
I don't give a shit. I'm guys. I'm very sensitive because of a lot of topics. When it comes down to there's killers like that, I'm very insensitive, and here's why: lock up the mama, lock up the mother. I don't give a fuck. Lock up whoever, everybody who lives with this person. They're all guilty. It's criminal negligence to be around somebody that he gives so many signs and to not do shit. Fuck all of them. Locked all of them up.
And I don't remember why
I don't give a
sat
shit.
on the bed. I'm sure I was telling him something unrelated, and he said, "Mom, I gotta tell you something."
The neighbor took a random guess, that it was him, and she got it right. And the mother doesn't know shit. And she's, oh my god, what is going on here? I can't believe it. What a fucking bunch of dumb fucks.
This is while he's still in the bed, and you're sitting there beside him. Can you tell me what he told you?
I don't know.
It's really hard to just to deal with this whole thing right now. I understand this whole concept of this is pretty hard.
I want to help. I'm not sure I can remember. He had that look, that horrible look. I think the first thing he said was, "I'm a monster."
If the detectives are going to get to the truth of this confession, though, the details will have to come from Austin himself.
Can we start with just the bottom line is what did you tell your mom?
That I murdered Jessica Ridgway. That I was responsible for her abduction and her death.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me now a little bit about what happened in this whole situation? Can we go ahead and start back on October 5th, which was a Friday morning?
I just remember I wound up finding a place over in her neighborhood where I could park where a car really wouldn't be noticed by anyone, just somewhere where all the fences were. Because, while I was driving, I was just kind of looking. And I saw her, and I found the place to park, and I parked, and I waited. When she walked by, I grabbed her.
Were you standing by your car when you did that?
I was inside my car, in the back seat. Because I had parked and I had hopped into the back seat and I grabbed her and I pulled her in.
Okay. Do you remember where that was at?
Not exactly. It was random place, random time, random everything.
Well, when you went out that morning, Friday morning, which was early in the morning,
Sandpaper room.
over to Jessica's neighborhood. What were you planning on doing that day?
I had the intent of picking up any female that came across where I was.
Yeah.
That it didn't matter what time, where, it just anything.
So you were out, for a better word, hunting?
Yeah, that's the only word I can think of.
So when you initially took Jessica, you were actually in the back seat of your car.
Yes, and then I zip tied her hands and her feet.
Did she come close enough to the car that you didn't have to get out?
Yeah, basically. I mean, I had to take one step, and that was it.
What was she doing when you did that? What was her emotional state?
She wasn't paying attention. She was messing with a snowball in her hands, and she actually still had the snowball in her hands when I was driving around. And
well, what was her emotional state once you actually got her into the car and zip tied your arms?
Terrified.
What was she saying?
She was scared. She wanted to know if she was going to see her mom again. She wanted to know who I was, where we were going. And I mean, I wouldn't answer all of her questions, but I would answer some of them, like if she'd see her mom again, and I would lie to her and I'd tell her that she would.
Unfixable, man. Hey, yo. Here comes the bad take. You're not gonna like this one. Ali, you should redeem these videos like this. Unfixable is what it is. You get permanent jail. I don't give a. This guy seems to understand a lot of things on a lot of levels, and this guy's an odd weirdo on so many psychological levels. It's not fixable. You can't fix that. Gigi.
I would tell her that she'd be okay, and one of her concerns was getting back to school on time. Because her mom and her teacher would be angry at her, and I told her not to worry about it, that I'd handle them.
Austin is describing an abduction that has been front page news in Colorado for the better part of a month. Detectives sit down with his girlfriend Anna to see if the subject ever came up between them.
We're here about Jessica.
Chat, last pause. Chat, why do they give... This is a weird question, chat. Why death penalty, chat? Why is there not like labor, like a labor camp for like the people that would be on death row? And it's just they get like garbage ass food, like fucking like dog pellets or whatever the fuck, like fucking like dog food pellets, right? And they give them like a bunch of like they're stuck and they have to do laborious work that's very simple, like chop metal or whatever, or a bunch of stuff has to be done, right? Like a bunch of laborious stuff, and it's just like a little bit of a. I mean, I'm not gonna say, but I mean.
Tell me what you saw on the news about Jessica.
I just saw that she heard about her getting kidnapped and then finding the body, and that's about where I left off.
Okay. When was the last time you saw Austin?
Last week, Wednesday.
And have you and Austin talked about Jessica at all?
Not really.
What have you mentioned? You said not really. What have you mentioned about?
We were talking about.
Then give them the choice then. It's either the labor camp or death. Because if they're gonna put them on death, I think maybe give them a choice. They give them a choice. You would normally die under the law in this state. Instead, you can go to say a pretty hardcore labor camp. And you just sit there and you have to do stuff that society needs, like fucking add like package corn or some shit, like I don't know, some dumb shit, some like break rocks, fucking mine coal or something.
We couldn't think about anybody could do that to somebody. That's pretty much it.
But Anna doesn't yet know that her boyfriend has admitted to his involvement in this horrific crime, and she certainly doesn't know the chilling story he's sharing with the detectives.
So after so long of driving around, I found a place to park where I checked her backpack and she had no cell phone or anything. And after
that I hopped back in the front of my car and I drove back to my house. And I hopped out of the car and I opened the garage door and I drove in and I shut the garage door behind me. Let her out of the back of my car. I undid the zip ties. And I took her up to my room. And I sat her in my room and I played Netflix on the TV for her. It was either like Family Guy or something. I can't remember. It was some cartoon. I just kind of sat there.
Austin tells the police that he left the room at this point to get Jessica a Coke and a microwave pizza to eat.
You actually went to the kitchen and got that for her?
Yes.
Would you leave her there?
Yeah.
Could she have gotten out? I mean, would you have seen her leave or heard her leave?
If she would have went by the window, then no. But any other way, then probably.
So this is on the second floor, right?
Yeah.
It's got a two-story home.
And she didn't put up any fight at all.
Austin's grim confession takes place against the backdrop of the conflicting DNA evidence, and his grandmother appears to think something else may be going on here.
Do you know why you're here?
Because there is my grandson seems to believe that he committed a murder.
Okay, and your grandson?
That's what I understand. This is horrible. This is the most horrible thing. There's got to be something wrong. He's not this person. Or maybe he made it up. You know, like I've heard, you know, I was talking about watching the cop shows and stuff, the cold cases, and I've heard about people, false confessions to be, just to get to be famous.
Sure.
He did that. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
But despite the DNA dead end and testimonials from those who know him, Austin paints a vivid picture of Jessica's final moments that feels terrifyingly real.
After sitting there for probably an hour, maybe, I don't exactly remember, time kind of started feeling weird then. After that, I asked her to change into a pair of a shirt and shorts that I had, and I let her go into the bathroom to do that, and she came back, told her to put all her clothes in her backpack and get her backpack ready and everything to go back. And then after she was done with that, I walked up behind her and I initially tried to use zip ties to strangle her, but those cut into my skin and didn't really work and weren't doing a job that weren't doing it.
Bro, just the way this guy describes things, he's a psycho. Like, is whatever the fuck definition of psychology that describes, like, that's a problem. How is that not a perpetual red flag of when you're the mother of this person? When somebody describes like everything like this, bro, you get this motherfucker checked in. Like, what the fuck?
Just without even removing the zip ties or anything, I immediately switched over to just strangling her with my hands.
How did you use the zip ties?
They weren't quite long enough, so I daisy chained two of them together and I wrapped them around her neck and I pulled it tight, but it inevitably tore through my hand and wound up breaking.
You actually have a mark on one of your fingers. Is that from the zip tie?
Both, yes, on both ends. There's one.
On both of the index fingers right here, you have a little mark where those were from pulling on the zip ties?
Yes. When I choked her, I closed my eyes and I just said, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." And then after she was dead, after she was, what I hope was dead, I put her into my bathtub face down and I made sure to fill it up with water to make sure that she was definitely dead. And then I cut off the clothes and threw them in a trash bag, and then
I sat and I cried.
According to Austin, that was only the beginning of an unspeakably dark morning.
Why did you feel like you had to take her arms and legs and her head off?
Because I felt like it was the only way that I could conceivably hide the body, is if it was in more manageable pieces, I guess.
It's a stupid question, but why are you trying to hide the body?
As soon as I realized I was past the point of no return, it's either get away with it or go to jail forever, possibly be executed, possibly anything. I didn't know. I don't know what my future's gonna be.
So you're fully understanding the consequences of what you've done, and that's why you're dismembering the body.
Question.
No, that's not why. That's why I turned myself in. It's because I understand the consequences of what I'm doing. The dismemberment was from that forensic science class. We had learned about serial killers, stuff like that, and the successful ones always seemed to be the ones who were able to make the body disappear completely. My main goal initially was to make it so that there was no trace, no nothing, where it was just disappear off the face of the planet.
Is that something you thought about?
What school did they teach that at? Back where I'm from, they didn't teach us that. I don't know who they teach that to.
Before, when you were thinking about doing that to someone?
No.
How would you thought you were going to do that?
I figured with just the utility knife, because I know that you can go around the human skeleton fits together kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You get the right spot, they come apart.
He tells the detectives that he dismembered Jessica's body using the utility knife and an electric saw from the garage before stuffing her parts into several garbage bags and hiding them in a backyard pool shed. A couple of days later, in an effort to direct the search for Jessica to a different area, he left her backpack in a distant neighborhood.
I felt like that didn't work, and so I decided the day the torso...
Chat, I have to pause. Chat, I have to get this food. Hold on. Chat, I want to miss the video. Hold on.
I was found, I decided to take that specifically out of the pool house, and I brought it back up and I re-cleaned it and double bagged it and tried to make sure.
What's up? I don't know. I'm just streaming. Bye.
I used gloves and everything. And I went and I just drove until I found a good spot where I could park for a minute or two, hop out, pull, just dump it off the side of the road and keep going. Because I felt like that was the biggest piece that I had to get rid of, because it was, I don't know, the worst.
But there was also a wooden cross found in that bag, an item Austin says he included as part of his devious ploy.
I was just walking throughout, and I walked into my room and I happened to see it just sitting there, so I cut it off of its rope and I just made some random engravings on it with the blade just to, in case.
What markings did you make on it?
Well, initially I was gonna go for something cryptic like 666 or something that would be very clear that it was religious and demonic, or something to get them on that.
Did you think that would distract them from you?
Right. If they're looking for a religious fanatic, I'm not one.
I mean. Ironically, that's how they would have gotten him, no? Was that lady not correct about him?
And that's what I was trying to do, is make
it's not 5-headed, it's 0-headed. They would have gotten him because of that. So
remember what the markings look like that you did put on it?
I put the 3 little etchings on the front, and then on the back I think I scribbled a Z or an S. I think it was like an S, or just kind of went back and forth.
And what did you use to carve it with?
The same utility blade
that you'd used when you with the body.
Yeah.
Okay.
Austin says that he spent the week since the murder racked with anxiety, though it appears that his girlfriend didn't notice.
What about his attitude? How has he been in the last month? Is there anything different about him?
Not at all.
Okay. Does he have any injuries on him?
So he has a girlfriend, huh?
Have you seen any injuries? What about, has he seemed...
Jump for her too!
Happier than usual, or sadder than usual, or anything like that? Have you noticed anything different about him?
Yeah.
It seems that even those closest to Austin noticed nothing out of the ordinary, but then again, perhaps the young suspect was practiced in maintaining an innocent facade.
Does anything else happen before today?
One thing I had forgotten about until the media had brought it back up is the incident at Kettner Lake where the young lady was attacked. That was me as well.
Okay. When you talk about the Kettner Lake incident, do you remember what you did on that case?
I remember I made chloroform. I parked my car there and I just kind of went and took a few laps around they have a little walking path that you can walk around, and I waited for what I felt was an opportune time, and I just walked past the lady who was just walking by herself, and then I turned around and I tried to grab her, and she knocked me to the ground, and I don't remember after that. I remember going blank again.
Austin says that despite his chloroform-soaked rag, the woman was able to fight him off, but his involvement in this earlier incident is made all the more surreal and heartbreaking by the fact that Jessica's mom mentioned it in her first sit-down with the police.
What was your purpose in grabbing this girl?
I don't honestly know. My intents were probably to do the same thing to her what I did Jessica.
While the police have yet to match the DNA from Jessica's remains to Austin or any other suspect, they have linked it to the Kettner Lake attack. Despite the lab results, it looks increasingly likely that the young man before them is responsible for both. And if this violence seems to have come from nowhere, a closer look reveals that there were signs along the way.
Oh!
He had to go into therapy.
Oh, some
Because
giveaways, you could say.
Okay.
Austin. His mother found out that he was when he was about 13, 14, something like that. They call it addicted to pornography.
Oh.
And
At age 13 or 14, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going, isn't this kind of normal for guys? You know?
But investigators will quickly learn that there was nothing normal about the content Austin was consuming.
Describe to me what it is that you've seen.
Like bondage, forced sex. I've seen like dismemberment. Just everything. Like,
what were the things that would turn you on in your fantasy?
I mean, force, probably. I mean,
you talking about being something? Or are you talking
being able to control what they do.
With this disturbing obsession hanging in the background, police are concerned that there may be more to Austin's nauseating story than he's admitted thus far.
Well, at some point you must have been thinking about having sex with this young girl, right?
I did, but I mean, she was a 10-year-old girl. I couldn't imagine. It was probably the first time that I haven't ever had a sex drive in my life that I can remember.
Well, why did you decide at that point that you had to kill her?
Because I felt like if I didn't, there was no way I could ever get away with it.
Get away with what?
Abducting a small child. I was so... I think the second I pulled her into my car, I knew she was dead.
If other things happened with her body, would that make this worse in your mind?
I think that, yeah, probably, yeah.
It's only at this point that the detectives bring up a detail that was never released to the public. The wooden cross wasn't just left with Jessica's remains. It had been inserted into her. Austin ultimately admits to this desecration, though he denies violating her in any other way before her death.
How long have you been thinking about doing something like this to a young girl?
I would have to say, it wasn't even, had nothing to do with her age or anything. It was an easy target when she was laying there. All I could think of was, oh God, what have I done?
And what did you answer yourself?
I couldn't.
Did you know what you did was wrong?
I did, but I couldn't. I couldn't believe that I had done what I had just done.
What do you think society would think about what you did to Jessica?
I don't know about society because I've never really been that great with it, but I know that personally I am a monster for what I've done. I couldn't find a better word to describe evil than exactly what it is.
Did you say evil?
Evil, yes.
Austin has admitted responsibility for one of the most shocking murders in Colorado history, but a piece of the puzzle remains missing. That piece is soon found when investigators realize that Austin's original DNA sample to the FBI was lost, and his name was cleared in error when...
Okay, put those guys in jail too. Everybody out there, jail. Everybody, these guys, job gone. I don't give a fuck. Just demote them back to fucking, like putting tiles on the ground. Even ashes too, maybe probably too much. I don't give a fuck. Jail everybody.
When they test a fresh swab, the result is a match. But even without that match, the evidence is impossible to deny.
Let's go back to Jessica again. What you talked about?
A criminal voluntarily gives you their fucking sample. They spoon feed you the evidence to convict a murderer, and you go, not our guy. Guys, is not our, go next, guys.
About the one
demoted to nothing. Demoted to going to a factory and sewing up t-shirts.
The torso part.
Yeah.
What happens to the rest? What do you do with everything else?
Everything else, I moved then from out in the backyard because I felt like they had cadaver dogs or search dogs or something combing our area. And so I moved all those pieces from in the back of where the pool house was to where the detectives found them tonight.
Where was that at?
Under my house, under a crawl space.
The remaining pieces that are in your house, what do you think is still in your crawl space?
The skull, the head, the arms, and the legs.
In a statement in court the following year, the judge overseeing the case said, quote, "Evil is apparently real. It was present in our community on October 5th, 2012. On that day, its name was Austin Sigg." Austin pled guilty to 15 charges relating to the kidnapping, murder, and sexual assault of Jessica Ridgway, the attempted abduction of the jogger at Kettner Lake, and possession of explicit material involving minors. Although being 17 at the time of the crime spared him for the death penalty, the judge sentenced him to life in prison for the charge of first-degree murder and at least another 80 consecutive years for the additional charges, ensuring that he will never be released. 1 year after her death,
I wonder how much they recovered from the house and how much they weird shit he has out in the open at the house where his mother lived at. I would like to see how much, because when you say no signs, bro, I don't care. I need to start convicting parents for being deliberately stupid and to ignoring all the signs. That, in my opinion, if you're the legal guardian of somebody and they give you a lot of signs and you do something, you should be at least partially liable. At least partially liable to some community service or I don't give a fuck, jail time, because they're guilty. I don't give a fuck what anybody did. This guy has all these weapons and shit. These weird thoughts. He talks in a way that like describing it like very methodical. Like this was not doing the job. It was hurting my fingers. Like, that's not how people speak.
Ensuring that he will never be released. 1 year after her death, the Westminster community honored the young girl with the dedication of Jessica Ridgway Memorial Park, just down the street from where she lived. The dominant themes of the park are purple and green, Jessica's favorite colors.
Now I'm mauled. They lost the sample. Instead of admitting their mistake, they just said it wasn't a match. Oh, wait, good point. Hey. Accessory after the fact. People that worked over there at the FBI, let's keep it a buck. Hey, they're hiding evidence. How is that technically tampering with evidence? Falsifying reports. Brother, line of police. What? Let me relax. Brother, they said it was not a match after they lost it. It was switched? Oh, man. I can't do this anymore. Oh, man. I'm gonna mob. Alright. This guy didn't self-report. I mean, you probably got away with it. Let's keep it a look.